Oh God, I think I have an assignment due in like an hour. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Read, share, repeat, where we discuss books from the perspective of an aspiring fantasy author. Me, Carrie Share. Well, today we are actually doing a very much needed cozy reset for the month of February, and it is needed because the vibes over the last couple of weeks of January were just awful. Though the year started off strong, January just was not it, and I'm already ready to leave it behind. But before I do that, I do like to look back at the previous month and reflect on my successes and areas of growth before I get into the new month. So without further ado, let's do just that. If I were to break down my goals into 4 distinct categories, they would be reading, writing, content creation, and then more personal things. Reading-wise, I did okay. My goal was to read 8 books, and I finished out the month with 7, 6.5 technically, since one, I was already at the 50% mark when the new year rolled over. But it's going in my Goodreads as 7, so I'm almost there. I did get started on an 8, but it's a reread, so I don't know that it would have counted on my Goodreads goal anyway. And again, that is largely just due to that major slump that I hit right in the middle of the month where I wasn't reading or writing or doing hardly anything. So all things considered, I'm pretty pleased that I managed to get almost all the way there. I'm happy with 7, and I believe I can make the extra book up pretty easily somewhere this year. On the plus side of that though, I have been reading a lot of super long books, knocking off a lot of these chunkier books on my TBR. I read 2 that were over 550 pages and 1 that was over 600 pages. So in the month of January, even though I only read 7 books, I read over 3,000 pages. And look, if my goal is to read 30,000 pages every year, then I'm already way ahead of that pace. So I can't be too mad, especially since by rule, those take longer to get through. I'll talk more about my writing stuff over on my writing channel, but just a brief overview. I wrote over 20,000 words this month, and while I had some really high highs and bottomed out with some really low lows going 5-6 days at a time without writing, by writing over 20,000 words, I did still average 500 words a day, even though it wasn't every single day. Of course, 500 words a day is my absolute bare minimum baseline. So even though I didn't hit 500 words each day, I'm still ahead of 500 words times 31 days. So there's a win in there somewhere. And while yes, I did want to try and write every single day, I did end up writing 15 out of 31. So even in the worst parts of the slump, I did manage to write just about half of the time in January. Now, of course, that's something I want to improve on in the new month, but all things considered, how slumpy I was feeling, still being able to maintain that 50% is not exactly a win, but something I know that I can build on. As for this channel, I gained 5 new subscribers. Hello, everyone. I'm up to a total of 8, not bad for my first month, and I'm getting an impressive amount of views. I just need to work on my engagement a little bit. So if you're watching this and you like my content, please, I would love to chat with you more in the comments. I started what is now my writing channel and this spin-off channel as a way to engage with the bookish community because I don't actually have anyone in my personal life that I can talk to in depth about the books I'm reading. And as much as I want to share my thoughts, I also want to get feedback. I want to engage on the topics of books. I want to know your thoughts and I want to share mine more in depth. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid of making it all about you, which I sometimes experience when I'm trying to comment on other creators' channels. I feel very nervous, like this is their content. How can I make it about me? You're not, truly. I would love to get to know you better and talk more. And then we get into my personal goals, which a lot of them were like health related, drinking more water, exercising more. I'm going to be honest with you guys, neither of those things happened. I am really struggling to want to do anything sort of exercise related. And I'm trying so hard to get better about drinking more water. I don't know that I'm going to do better in February though. That's the thing. But those goals aside, I've done a pretty good job with my schoolwork. I've managed to stay on top of it. Oh God, I think I have an assignment due in like an hour. Apart from this one, I've done a pretty good job of staying on top of my homework and getting them done ahead of time. So that way I'm not doing what I just did right now on a Sunday night where I'm freaking out because I just remembered I had something to turn in and now I have no time. For the most part, I'm doing pretty good about that. I'm halfway through the term and I still have an A in both classes. So far so good. And then I also have been utilizing Notion more and more, which is something that I really wanted to do. I am obsessed with like paper products, paper planners, paper journals. I especially like this one. I especially love because it's completely unstructured. It's completely blank. Whatever I need it to be that day, I will turn it into. Whereas like some of the printed planners are a little bit more structured. Sometimes I need that, and sometimes I find it confining. And right now I'm in my blank journal era. That being said, something I have found that is not as efficient with this method is I have a harder time planning my week out and like looking ahead beyond the single day that I'm in. And I think that was contributing to forgetting about assignments and just overextending myself and overbooking myself because I'm not adequately parsing out the tasks I need to get done throughout the week. So Brielle turned me on to this really great Notion template, which was created by another small business owner type creator named Deya. I will link her channel and Brielle's channel below if you want to check those both out. But I have found so far that this Notion template and weekly planner that she has created to be really efficient for me because I have like a dashboard of all the tasks I need to get done in a week, and I can start assigning it. And where I see a day where I don't have as much going on, I can reshuffle some things so that like Wednesdays are always really, really full because I have a standing appointment every evening, but it's also supposed to be a video editing day because I post videos on Thursdays. So I've got an appointment that's taking 2 hours. I've got video editing that's taking 2 hours. I'm supposed to be writing for an hour. I'm supposed to be reading for an hour. And when that all stacks up, I realize I need to do some reshuffling. And that's kind of what this Notion template has helped me do. So I'm really excited about it. And I do have a tendency to use a tool like this for a couple of weeks and then taper off. So I'm going into my third week of really utilizing this tool, so we'll see if it continues to stick around. But so far, I'm finding it really, really helpful. So that is it for my goals and reflections on the different areas of my creative life. Next up, I want to talk about some of the books I will be unhauling this month. So for the month of January, I have 3 new books that I am yanking from my shelves. First up is Fire Sky by Mark de Jager. This is a book that I picked up kind of sight unseen off the shelf of Half Price Books because I was just desperate to start filling my shelves up. However, I didn't realize that it is actually the second book in the series, and I have never seen the first one after I bought this more than a year and a half ago. And I may be interested in the series at some point, but I'm definitely not interested in maintaining just a second book of a series where I have never even heard of the first one before. Sort of similar is A Dance of Cloaks by David Dalglish, another one that I was just like, I need to feel something, and so I just bought it. I don't know anything about it. I'm unhauling it is not a comment on it itself. It's just that I don't feel drawn to it. I don't know anything about it, and I don't really need it on my shelf. And then lastly, the book of Witching by C.J. Cook. I was actually supposed to read this book in January. It was actually my random draw out of my Mimic for my TBR. And I don't know if you could tell when you watched that video, but my heart kind of sank because I have no interest in this book. I believe this was a book of the month choice for October, and I had already like skipped a couple of months at that point, and I just wanted to have something finally. And so I was like, yeah, all right, I'll take it, horror or whatever. But I learned last year that I'm not really entertained by horror as I would like to be. And this particular premise just didn't even seem that interesting to me anyway. So I made a executive decision that I was not going to even attempt to read it, and I would just go ahead and give it up. Again, this isn't a comment on the content of the book or the author. I am just not a horror girly. As much as I would like to be, I'm just not. And this particular premise just didn't seem very interesting to me. So I will be taking that to Half Price and clearing some space on my shelves. And just briefly, I'd like to talk about some of my favorites in January. My favorite book that I read in the month of January was A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. It was the first Ava Reid book I have ever written, and while I had heard some mixed things about this particular book, I actually really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I found Ava Reid's writing, particularly around the main character's trauma, to be extremely compelling and tugging on my emotions in a way that I haven't really felt before while reading a book. Effie's anxiety became my anxiety, and that really drew me along more than the plot or even the romance did. Out of all the books that I read in January, that one really stuck with me the most. My favorite video that I created in the month of January has got to be my new Who Wore It Better video. And this is a new concept for me, and it kind of came about by accident as I realized two books on my TBR kind of closely mirrored each other. They had a lot of the same buzzwords and tropes and similar settings and plot beats. So I thought it would be fun to read them both at the same time and sort of compare my feelings on each book and see which one tackled those buzzwords and tropes and plot beats better, in my opinion. The goal was not to tear down one book and raise one up, although it did happen that one book got a 4-star and one got a 2.5 star. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if I can apply this concept to other books on my TBR. My favorite YouTuber for the month of January has to be McKenna over at McKenna Loves Content. Although it seems like we have radically different tastes in books and music and movies and things, I really enjoy her content, and I definitely recommend you check her out if you haven't already. And then lastly, my favorite non-creative related pastime is, of course, playoff football. My favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs, are back in the Super Bowl and had a great January of football. And that is something that is going to carry over into February, of course, as we prepare for the Super Bowl. So that is everything for the month of January. And like I said, I think I am ready to leave it behind and start fresh with a new month and hopefully avoid another slump like I did last month. So now it is time to look ahead to February. First, by setting some new short-term goals, and then we'll take a look at the content I have planned for the month. So again, going by those 4 main aspects of my creative life, my reading, writing, content creation, and then anything else that's more personal. First up, for reading, I would actually like to finish 2 audiobooks this month. And that seems kind of crazy because, as you all probably know by now, I really struggle to listen to audiobooks. I firmly believe that they count as reading. There's absolutely no shade from me for people who listen to audiobooks exclusively or a lot. I wish that I could be one of you. I just can't. I have audio processing issues, which makes it really difficult for me to concentrate on the human voice, especially, and like the spoken word. I don't process information spoken orally very well. And so audiobooks I tend to struggle with them because if I lose concentration for a second, then I don't understand what I have just heard. And so to that point, I have been trying to finish one audiobook since October and have been just listening to like 5 or 10 minutes here or there. So it might seem kind of crazy that I'm going to try and cram 2 into this month until you take into account that I am going to be driving to Kansas to watch the Super Bowl with my dad in Kansas City. It's about an 8-hour drive. It's one I've made a ton of times because my family lives up there and I'm really comfortable with it. So my plan is to listen and finish out Trial of the Sun Queen, which is what I've been listening to on audio since October, finish that out on the drive up, and then listen to another book on the way down. I looked at my library of audiobooks and picked out one that is short enough that I think I can cram into that trip on the way down, so that way it is not lingering afterwards, and that book is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. So those are the 2 audiobooks I plan on finishing this month. I really hope that I can stick to my promise and not get distracted and want to listen to other things while I'm driving. I would also really like to hit double-digit books this month. My goal is 8, but I realized after I started this year that I can't really count rereads, at least not on Goodreads, towards my 100 books in a year goal. And I have a lot of rereads that I want to get to as part of my annotation project. So to make up that ground, I'd really like to hit double-digit books. One, to make up the fact that I didn't hit 8 last month, and to make up for the fact that I've got at least one reread also this month that I'll be doing. However, I don't know that that's very likely because at least 3 of the books on my TBR for February are over 600 pages, or at least 2 are, and then 1 is like over 500 pages. So it's looking like another month like last month where I have a lower book count, but a much higher page count. And so I added to this list of goals a page count of 4,000. Can I do that? Oh, why? What did I do? It's time to wrap this up. Now, I only got 3,000 pages last month reading 3 books that were pretty lengthy, so 4,000 is a big stretch. If I convert my audiobook hours to pages, I think I can get it though. Next up, writing, and again, I'm going to talk more about these goals in detail on my writing channel, but originally I wanted to finish the first draft of Seekers of Empyrean by the end of February. However, this weekend has shown me that I don't think that's possible. It would just demand too much from me in a month that is the shortest month of the year, where I have a vacation out of town that I'm road tripping on and have obligations that I will need to attend to while I'm there, and plenty of distractions. I've also got just a bevy of personal things going on. And as I said, this week, I really tried to set myself on that path this weekend and it didn't work out. And so instead, I am revising that goal just to get back to a baseline of writing a majority of days of the month. I did 15 out of 31, so I didn't quite hit it. It was almost exactly half. So this month I would like to write at least 15 days out of 28, but really ideally more like 20 out of 28, and making it a priority again and hitting that baseline of at least 500 words, so that I can get back to my original target of finishing the book by the end of March. As for this channel, I'd really love to grow my subscribers to maybe 20. And I know that's not something that's entirely in my hands, but I'm manifesting it, okay? Something that isn't within my control is I would like to do better about my dedicated reviews. I noticed last year when I tried to do one-on-one reviews of books that I wasn't very good at it because I wasn't really keeping up with like the specifics of the book, and they just weren't very structured. I was just sort of brain dumping. And what I would like to do is get better at like making those reviews more structured, take more notes, keep track of the details, and give more coherent thoughts, and be someone that's adding something to the reviewing space rather than just venting my opinions. Although I guess that is a lot of what reviewing is, but I'd like to do it in a way that is engaging and coherent. And then lastly, for my channel, I would like to maintain posting shorts twice a week. The majority of the shorts are going to be my 60-second book reviews. I did try a 3-minute book review of A Study in Drowning since YouTube extended the shorts limit, but I found that I didn't like it as much. There's something kind of fun about the challenge of reviewing a book in 60 seconds, where half of the time is dedicated to giving a brief snapshot of what the book is about, and then the other half of the time is trying to summarize your feelings on the book very, very quickly. And yes, that means a lot gets left out and there's not a lot of room for nuance. I do find that challenge fun, and it's something I can film in 5 minutes before I go to my weekly appointment and edit really quickly and post from my phone. And so those are going to be the majority of the shorts. However, there's probably going to be a time where the shorts catch up to my reading, and in those cases, I'm going to have to find other things to talk about for a semi-weekly short, but that is my goal, is to maintain a twice a week short posting schedule. Lastly, my personal goals are kind of reflections of the goals in January: exercise more, drink more water, and maintain that Notion calendar, which will help me be more productive and schedule my time better, and hopefully prevent myself from falling into a slump like I did last month. Again, using this template and this weekly calendar hopefully will help me schedule my time better so that I am giving myself adequate time to rest every single day and not burning myself out so quickly. And then then lastly, we are just going to take a quick look at my content calendar for this month. And yes, I am going to be out of town for that second week, but I am already working on filming ahead so that way there's no lapse in content. Okay, so as you can see here, today is February the 3rd, and we are doing my February cozy reset. Then on Thursday, February the 6th, we will be doing my January reading wrap up. Then on Monday, February 10th, I am working really hard to get some content filmed and scheduled for that week since I will be technically out of town. But my goal is to have a Behind the Bandwagon book review on that day on February the 10th and a tarot card book recommendation on the 13th. After that, things go back to normal and I will have my vacation vlog for you. As I have mentioned, I am driving to Kansas City to watch the Super Bowl downtown with my dad and visit some family and eat some barbecue. So I'm going to be doing a vlog of that whole experience, including the drive. Looking forward to that. My plan is to have an Adventures with Annotating reading vlog on February the 20th. I haven't picked the book yet. The way my TBR shook out this month none of the physical books I chose were really ideal for one of these kinds of vlogs, so I'm looking to add another physical book to my TBR for this vlog. No idea what book that might be yet. And then we come up to a blank space on my calendar because I actually haven't planned anything for that day so far. I've got a couple of ideas, but for now, it's a little bit of a mystery even to me. And then lastly, on February the 27th, we will be closing out the month with my March TBR. And that is everything. I'm really looking forward to a great February. Not only am I getting some much needed time off from my job, I'm going to be visiting some family and engaging in a non-creative activity, which I think is really healthy for me. I'm also planning on getting a lot of reading done and getting back on track with writing. So hopefully this reset is what I needed to get myself in the right mind space to tackle all of those goals. And that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe or consider leaving a comment down below. In my next video, I will have my January reading wrap up for you. I hope you look forward to it and I will see you then. Bye.